Hello and welcome once again to Let's Play Shadows of Om, and this is Policy of Madness. Last time... last time we finished up Darnassi Keep. This time we're going to take care of some of this shit that's on our request list.
Nothing to it.
What can it be now?
It's supposed to be a secret. The blood of the meddling. It's an interesting way to characterize the Harpers. Yeah. Beasts which threaten the city. Let's keep that in mind. Beasts which threaten the city.
Credo, oculo.
What do I have up? Okay. So the beasts which threaten the city are goblins.
Whatever you want.
I trust all is well.
He just kind of screams. So why do you put up with that shit? Why don't you just leave and go find some other master? Strange little dance. So the story is that these were supposed to be much more threatening creatures, but this is a quest that you might undertake really early in the game, and so they changed it to fucking goblins. Okay.
Incultus, fulcrum, imperium.
And he can do nothing because I'm shimmering. And stone skin does not stop magic missiles. This one I think is the trapped one. Oh. Both had traps. Okay.
if you say so.
Let us speak and be done with this.
Now, how does he understand that? Oh, really? How much ridiculous EXP? 14,000 EXP. Wow. Okay. We're going to level 18. Sling, just in case we want a sling. What are we getting here? Awesome. Improved alacrity is definitely the best for the initial pick here. Okay, level 9. Of course we're going to get all the good spells here, but lots of people go for time stop. I don't know if I want to go for time stop. Yeah, this is a terrible spell. It puts you in melee range. Chain contingency. I guess we'll take time stop first. Okay.
Of course.
Now we can talk to all the Harpers. Do you want to talk to the Harpers? I like this guy.
Hi, friend.
He's like brand new here. You can only get a certain amount of information out of him.
Hi, friend.
Then this guy will start giving him the eye. And at that point he stops talking.
Greetings.
Okay. That's not scummy at all. Made you think of meddlers correctly. Not really interested in anything they have to say. Oops. Did you see that? Just ripple through the Harper shit. Don't know what kind of trap that is. I think it's like charm or something. There's a helm of defense, I think, in here, but we don't need that, and I'm not going to risk that trap for a fucking helm of defense. Okay, the amulet, you don't actually have to wear it, you just have to have it in your inventory, but we're going to wear it anyway. Because we're styling, I guess.
Do as I bid.
I'm just not interested in what these things have to say. Now this actually is kind of an interesting little plot they have going here, because this is just laying around. I mean, nobody forces you to pick this up. And yet as you're exploring, you're probably going to find it. And they clearly expect you to find it. They clearly expect you to find it, and yet nothing really points you toward it. So it's not as obvious that it's a trick. Like I said, we can rest in safety here. I wonder if that was a true story. I wonder if we can actually rest here. Or if it'll tell us we need to go outside or to an inn or some shit. Let's try it. Nope. Alright. Well, we're gonna go to an inn.
Whatever you desire. Is that all?
There's a definition of racism that you'll come across online if you talk about racism online to with any frequency.
Nothing to it.
That's the guy who will curse Jahira if you come in here with Jahira.
It's a cold and dreary day when the Thumbcoat extend a bit of hospitality to his guests. Come, enter and be welcome at the sea's bounty.
Let's go ahead and do the pirates. As long as we're here. Look at that.
Whatever you want.
Let's get rid of the mage first.
Incursus Imperium.
I have a blade with your name on it. Dreadfully sorry. But I'm afraid I'm gonna have to kill you.
Yeah, I don't think that's actually gonna happen.
Vita Mortis Cario. Incursus Fulcrum Imperium. Voxo Vere.
Not very dangerous when you get the mage out of the way. It's the mage who is the most dangerous person here. Mages in the original Baldur's Gate were not too dangerous. I mean, every now and then they would have a hold person or a charm person. Usually it was clerics. Clerics were the really dangerous
What would you like?
magic users in the first game. In the second game, not so much. In the second game, clerics are still dangerous, but mages are really dangerous.
Nothing to it.
This definition of racism that you'll come
Whatever
across
you want.
it says that racism is prejudice plus power. Prejudice plus power. I think there's a trap on this chest also. Guess not. Maybe it's this one. Trap sprung, but it didn't do anything to us, so we're fine. So, the upshot is that you can't have racism without power. You gotta get like way in the back in order to reach this. Okay. This whole quest here, you get, I think, almost 15,000 EXP just for bringing what's-his-face here. And then they give you another almost 15,000 EXP for getting the door open. And now 20,000 for picking up the bird. I mean, this is insane amounts. That's like the entire amount of EXP, almost the entire amount of EXP that you would need in the first game in order to get yourself up to the EXP cap. I mean, shit.
Something troubling you?
Look at this. This would get you up to the EXP cap. Now, 14.5 plus 14.5 is, let's see, 24.5, 28.5, 29,000. 29,000 plus 20,000, 49,000 plus 35.5, 49,000, 79,000, 84,005. 84,005. The EXP cap is 89,000 in the first game. This would get you almost to the EXP cap of the first game. So he's the master who would do a strange little dance.
Your voice is ambrosia.
And if you have Jahira with you, she won't really have much to say about this. No, that's not a point of semantics. That's a point of ethics. Yeah, actually I did know that. He'll admit that in the first game if you carry him around with you long enough. I don't know why all this trickery then. If you knew who he was and where he was, just come out here and kill him. I don't really see the difference between an amulet and a Harper amulet and a Harper pin. Okay. So because of this, this is a nice quest to do initially because it'll give you a better weapon than what you get coming out of Irenicus's dungeon, and the danger in this quest is extremely low. Alright, let's go stash some shit. There are a couple of conceptual problems with this definition of racism, and one very important practical problem. The first conceptual problem is, here we're going. The first conceptual problem is this.
Whatever you decide.
Let's say you have someone who is really racist, and everyone, even the KKK, would admit that this guy is totally racist. But you take him away from the United States and you move him to China. So now he's in China as a racial minority and as an expat. He has no power. This goes in the junk drawer. Anything else for the junk drawer? And therefore, he's no longer a racist? That's a problem, okay? That's a very important conceptual problem. We want to keep this with us. We don't need that. Yeah, this is the archivist. Winter chill, misplaces tinderbox. Basically, he froze to death, which is sad. Dense puddings, fire trolls, fish and slimes. Newly discovered variations on normal breeds of creatures. I don't really see how a Merilith is one of those. Oh, we need to keep that with us. No longer need that. Alright. So you can make someone no longer racist by just putting them in another country? I don't think so. Okay, that's
Nothing to it.
kind of defies the whole idea of racism. Okay, so that's kind of a problem. The next conceptual
Whatever
problem
you want.
is... Where are we going? Oh, here we go.
Just ask.
What do you do about people who are...
What do you like?
What do you do about people who are themselves racial minorities who display prejudice? And I'm not talking about the,
Nothing to it.
you know, so-called reverse racism. Reverse racism is not really a thing. Or rather, well, we'll get into that in a bit.
Whatever
What I'm
you
talking
want.
about is, just for example, there was a study that was done to find out what people think of, what type of racial makeup of a neighborhood
I got some cheap beer for you.
different people preferred. And it turns out that, just as you would expect, white people prefer neighborhoods that are overwhelmingly white. It turns out, though, that African Americans prefer neighborhoods that are racially mixed. About 50-50
If
is
that's
the
what you want.
preferred... That's someone I need to care about now. About 50-50 is the preferred... oops.
Whatever you desire.
So how do you describe that? Except with the word, racism. Other groups, such as people of Asian descent and people of Hispanic descent, also had this same kind of idea that African Americans are not their preferred neighbors. And any definition of racism that fails to capture this kind
Is
of
that all?
attitude that African Americans don't actually prefer to live in neighborhoods that are 100% African American, and Asian Americans and Hispanic
Nothing
Americans,
to it.
and people who are new immigrants from all areas. Oh.
Help me, please. It's Uncle Lester. He's risen from his grave. He scared everyone away who was at the funeral, and now he's come after me.
I'm actually really enjoying this.
Cheap sweater? Well, I'll have you know that belonged to your grandfather, you ungrateful git. Ah! It's him! Call me a fiend, will you? Well, I've never seen such a cheap funeral in my life. You sold my clothes and kept the casket closed. You picked the flowers this morning from near the swamp.
So he's standing here naked? He's a naked zombie. Okay. A lot of times I just let him kill his nephew. I don't actually care that much. Is this just the end of the... Yeah.
What?
We'll go down there later. So there seems to be a problem with any definition of racism that does not capture. I didn't know this was also into the...
What would you like?
Okay. That does not capture those kinds of attitudes.
Nothing to it.
The authors of this study
Whatever you want.
assumed that that's not what I meant to do.
If you say so.
Assumed that non-white groups were... I think this one opens. Yeah.
Cast off your old beliefs and be saved.
Veritas, credo, oculo.
Of course.
Death to the disbeliever!
Okay. Is he immune to this? That's a whole lot of EXP for what we did. There's a problem with any definition of racism that doesn't capture these dynamics. Because what can you call that except racism? I really don't know. Then there's also the conceptual problem, which is this. This idea of racism is prejudice plus power. It's usually brought out. How did I get damaged? Oh, it was that lightning trap. Okay.
If that's what you want.
It's usually trotted out whenever someone is talking about reverse racism. Reverse racism being,
Whatever you desire.
Wow, this is actually kind of a nice spell. To find as random loot. Reverse racism, of course, is this idea that racial minorities are prejudiced against or racist against white people. And so the racism is power plus prejudice is brought out as a counter to that, because African Americans lack power. They cannot be racist. We have essentially defined away any ability for African Americans to be racist. And the practical problem is that a whole lot of white people understand that this is bullshit. They completely understand that when an African American is saying something that if it were reversed would be unquestionably racist, that saying that that is not racism is
Nothing to it.
It's an issue. I'm kind of out of knock spells. Oh. Doesn't matter. Didn't go anywhere. Okay.
Whatever you want.
We're gonna have to go with some more knock spells.
Just ask.
You immediately start losing people when you say that. And I understand why people say that, because this notion that
You have been waylaid by enemies and must defend yourself.
okay.
Alright, let's go!
Credo oculos.
Alright, you and me. Let's go!
Mocho.
You start losing sympathy, and I'm just saying, as I have seen people say, well, this is an academic definition of racism, and you're an idiot if you think that racism doesn't work this way. Doesn't bring that back. So it's debatable whether or not having sympathy is important.
Whatever you want.
It's very debatable as to whether or not it's actually a good thing to prioritize the feelings of other people, especially people who are in racial groups that already have a whole lot of power.
If you say so.
There's an argument that people make frequently. It's called a tone argument, where essentially if someone is
Of course.
trying to make some kind of a statement and they're making it in a way that is insulting to a lot of their listeners, then that means that the statement is automatically wrong. That's not actually how these kinds of things work.
If that's what you
A
want.
tone argument is essentially never valid, and I may go more into a tone argument and why it's not valid later.
I got some beer for ya.
Is that all?
But this is a practical problem. If you can't get people to buy into a particular definition of racism, if you can't get large numbers of people to agree
Nothing to it.
that this is how racism works, then I'm not sure how useful your definition of racism actually is. Oh. We're about to get into a fight with this guy and all his buddies. It's not infrequent that I don't encounter these dudes. have my, yes, correct amulet on.
Incurtus pulcr imperium.
He's watching me do all this, like right next to him, and he says nothing.
Hi, friend.
All right, you and me.
Incurtus
Let's go. All right, you and me. Let's go.
Imperium.
I did no damage to them, why?
Vita mortis.
All right, you and me. Let's go.
Voxo.
Okay. Shadow Fiend, okay.
Vita mortis.
Don't usually like to do that.
Whatever.
Voxo.
Okay. We're just gonna come back to clean him up.
Just ask.
Okay. Did I go in here? Don't remember.
What would you like?
It's probably better to say that racism is racism, no matter who is... This is down into the dungeons. No matter who is deploying it, but that racism against white people is just actually not important. There's a definition of power that was advanced by Nisha that, yeah, it looks like that's it, that
Whatever you want. If you say so.
that one aspect of power is the ability to ignore attacks. Let's go rest. If someone attacks you, and you have the ability to just shrug it off, just ignore it, pretend it didn't happen.
Of course.
That's something that only the powerful can do.
I got some beer for you.
People who lack power don't really have the ability to do this.
Wow, an adventurer. Whatever you desire.
We're gonna go to the graveyard and clean up that, because even though that skeleton has expired, it still counts toward our summon limit until we go in here and actually watch it expire.
Nothing to it.
Okay. Let's go talk to Higgled, and then I think we'll be done for the day. This is behind the concept of telling someone to be the bigger person, the concept of being the bigger person. You can't be a bigger person unless you have the power to do it. And a lot of people who actually don't have power
Just ask.
will pretend that they have the power and say, I'm going to be the bigger person and ignore this attack against me, thereby kind of assuming the trappings of power even though they don't actually have it. And a lot of people who have power will not
What would you like?
be the bigger person. They will respond to attacks as though they had no power.
Nothing to it.
And for this one, I think we actually need our charisma to not suck.
Theatre life is never dull.
Good business to you. I trust all is well.
So the script that you produce here is dependent on your charisma, not on your intelligence. So I guess the script that you're producing is identical no matter what your charisma is, but whether or not you can persuade the people to accept it is dependent on charisma. I actually don't understand how that works. Okay. Think of it like this. The President of the United States is probably the most powerful person in the world. And you know, somebody who is a homeless, out of work, female, a racial minority,
If you say so.
someone who has these traits has no power at all. So if in a dispute between these two people, the homeless person standing on the street corner saying terrible things about the President of the United States, people might look a little askance at this individual, but aren't going to think too poorly of this person, especially if the complaints are valid. But if the President of the United States does the same thing, saying terrible things about a homeless person, you would say, holy cow, what are you thinking, dude?
If that's what you want.
Why are you doing this? You know, this is not legit, okay? It's dependent on the direction of power. You know, if you're, there's a concept in comedy, I think it's in comedy, of punching up versus punching down. It's much more acceptable to say negative things about someone who is powerful. Than to say negative things about someone who has no power and basically can't defend themselves. This is the concept of being a bigger person, and also a concept of how power operates. if you have enough power, you can completely ignore any attack against you. If you lack power, then you can't. And so, whenever you have a situation when somebody who has less power is being quote-unquote racist, why should we care? Why should we care? It's not like white people can't defend themselves. And I have a little bit more to say about that. We'll do that next time. Next time we're going to come into the dungeon, or graveyard dungeon, I guess that's what you call. I don't know, it's kind of a crappy dungeon. But we're going to do this. We are going to be specifically after something to put here because we've been going without it pretty much since the beginning of the last game. But join me then. Later.